Don Carpenter on News Talk 1270 KIML.
News Talk 1270 KIML. Don Carpenter Show. Welcome back to the program. And I'm pleased to be joined in studio now by Representative Troy Mader. Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Don, how are you?
Oh, not too bad. It's been a while since we've talked to you. We got the chance to talk to you on your first day down in Cheyenne. How are you adjusting to the public service life?
It's busy, by golly. We're learning a lot of things as we go along, helping people out as we go along the way. It's enjoyable.
Oh well, and of course, the legislative session. You guys got a lot done, so it's good to see you again. Welcome back. You gave me a call the other day and brought this to my attention. Now I knew that the Highway 59 relocation project was underway, but I didn't know a whole lot about it. I mean, you sent me a bunch of material, and I kind of looked over it, and I went for a ride the other day as well to kind of look over the area. Let's talk a little bit about this issue. First, give us a little bit of a background on what the relocation project is supposed to be doing.
Well, first of all, I want to give credit to a couple of people who helped me wake up as well. Former Commissioner Jan Evans was the first one to find out that this proposed relocation, and we're talking about North Highway 59 being relocated over to Highway 1416, so there would be about 6 miles of one access to all of northern Campbell County if this relocation goes through. And she was the one who made us aware that this wasn't a temporary location of moving this road. It was a permanent closure. And because of her work, and then Jamie Tarver had a community meeting last Tuesday up at Little Powder School in which we found out this is a permanent road closure, and we're talking about congesting all the traffic northbound to 1416 on the west side, which really negates our beltway system in a lot of factors. There's a lot of public safety factors that deal with this.
Well, and the idea is that I guess the section of 59 that's to be closed, I guess Alpha needs to get to some coal. And so the segment is all the way from, I believe, from Little Powder River all the way up to, right up past Dry Fork, right?
Well, it's up to Dry Fork. If those that are familiar with Highway 59, there are 2 bridges that cross railroads, and they would eliminate that road right up to the first bridge north of Gillette, and then all the way south to Little Powder Road, and permanently. That's the key, permanently.
Well, and that's the part that kind of surprised me as well. I mean, usually when these kind of things happen, if it's just a temporary thing, you can understand it, but it would be a permanent closure
for 2 state highways. And the thing is the traffic is increasing all the time. We'd often talk up there about the 59 corridor, and we're talking about not only Highway 59 north but south. I mean, truck traffic and everything from point south come up 59. They turn at Jake's Tavern on the Garner Lake Road, go up past the Camplex, catch Northern Drive on the north side of town, go over a couple miles, catch Little Powder Road, and connect right into Highway 59 and miss all of the town and most of the subdivisions. And they're talking about closing that and routing everybody over to 1416. So we're talking lots of congestion.
Yeah, as a former truck driver, that is kind of confusing to me. And by the way, if anybody has any questions, 682-1270 is the number, 682-1270. I think we might have a call. News Talk 1270, you're on the air.
Hi, John and Troy.
Oh, hi, how are you doing?
Good. This is Frank. I'm way up north here on the border, and I can't imagine, and I'm a medic up here, so I'm looking at delays, getting patients down to advanced medical care. Normally we meet ambulances with my particular turnout down by around Little Powder or so, Little Powder School. And it looks to me like we're going to be driving all the way to Weston now to meet ambulances. I can't think of a worse idea combining traffic. There must be some solutions to this. They're taking comments for a reason, I suppose.
Frank, I have a question for you. Would you relay what you talked about CPR at the meeting the other night? I think that listeners would be enhanced by that comment.
Troy, thank you for what you do, by the way. When you're doing CPR, once you start CPR, you can't stop CPR. And even if we're in the back of I'm lucky enough to have an ambulance from Montana with me. If we're in the back doing CPR, we can't stop. An extra 10 minutes after an hour of CPR is a lot of work. It's not just a matter of the work. You're exhausted. I mean, you're ready to fall down. It's an incredible amount of extra time for a patient who has just a golden hour. To add more time is very regressive, and I think transportation, and this is a quote from Jamie, I think, should be progressive.
Well, and I'll add to that, I called David King yesterday, the emergency coordinator. He said the same thing you said, Frank. Another 10 minutes. That's what they're figuring this delay time would be if they closed that road and had to route everybody over to 1416. He said can make a big difference.
Dave is very much into emergency management. That's what he does. How in the heck could they evacuate, say there was a train disaster, how are they going to get everybody in Gillette north if there's a forced evacuation with just one route? It just doesn't make sense. Folks that live up here are forced and funneled then into West Gillette, where everybody tends to drive to the central part of Gillette, adding miles to our journey. And if we go in every week, how many, what is that, a couple days of driving a year?
Yep, that's what they said. It'd take it'd be an extra 28 hours, I believe they actually said.
I mean, that's just an incredible inconvenience to the fairly significant population to the north here. It's not a town up here, but I mean, I know there's 129 people in the Weston zip code. That doesn't seem like a lot, but I mean, there's a lot of economics up here that happens as a result of that. It's not just the 129; it's all the cattle, it's hay, it goes on and on and on. What were some of the solutions that were presented, Troy?
Well, do you have to take a break, Don?
Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
There was two solutions. First of all, at the meeting that Jamie held, which was so excellently conducted, there was one consensus that was there. And the consensus was, and it was unanimous, let's keep two routes north of Gillette for public safety. There's just no question about it. That was the consensus. And there was two suggested routes. One is move Highway 59 east to the dividing line between Dry Fork and Alpha Coal's property so that the Alpha Coal can mine that particular section of Highway 59 they choose to close, or go east of Dry Fork and across the railroad tracks to mile marker 124, which is that last curve before 59 actually heads north, and build a new road approximately 2 miles. And it's really conducive to building a new road to the north or to the southeast, which actually connects up with the very end of Garner Lake Road that is paved. And there is already a quality overpass over the railroad tracks, and that would route you straight up to the intersection corner of Garner Lake Beltway system and Northern Drive. The distance, get this, folks, the distance from milepost 124 down to Northern Drive is approximately 7 miles. If we route the traffic through Northern Drive all the way to 1416, up past the airport, clear up to Rawhide Butte, and back over to milepost 124, it's double, 14 miles.
So, and I know this is kind of a visual thing, but I just want to make sure I get it right. The route you would propose would be going around Dry Fork, around that corner, and Garner Lake's a little bit off the map, right?
Right, and
Okay.
here's the thing. It runs parallel. It's all mine property, and it runs parallel to the railroad spur that services Rawhide and Buckskin mines. And the contour of the land, the geography, is fairly conducive to building a road. No bridges, those kinds of things.
And now that sounds like the best option to me as, someone that used to be a professional driver. But even the first option would be just, I guess, move 59 a couple hundred yards over to the east.
Or a quarter mile. I don't know where that line is. I don't have any idea. And here's another thing. At the community meeting, both commissioners, Matt Avery and Mick Schober, were there. And Mick brought up an important point. This isn't all as easy and cut and dried as we think, because although Garner Lake Road, the county part, not the Beltway part, but the county road part is paved, it is certainly not up to quality standards for a state highway type travel. And so there'd have to be improvement on Garner Lake, and whether that would be a temporary thing until the road could be put back. There's a number of options that would have to be done after the studies and those kinds of things were done.
Okay, and actually, why don't we take a short break? And I want to thank you for the call. And I think the thing to remember with the caller we just had, there's a lot of traffic, not only people that live in the northern part of the county, but there's a lot of traffic that goes up that way to get into Montana, too.
That's the 59 corridor we're talking about, because that's one of the major arteries now that go to North Dakota.
Yeah, and there's a lot of traffic going up and down that road right now. So let's take a short break, and we'll come back and talk a little bit more about this relocation. News Talk 1270 KIML.
Questions, comments, complaints? No, wait, skip the complaints. Email Don anytime.
Don Carpenter at basinradio.com.
It's Don Carpenter on News Talk 1270 KIML. Call Don now, 682-1270. News Talk 1270 KIML.
News Talk 1270 KIML. Don Carpenter Show. For our caller on the line, just hang on just a second. We'll get right to you. If you're just joining us, we're talking with Representative Troy Mader. He's in studio to talk a little bit about this Highway 59 relocation project. And before the next question, I know you have some contact information for people that might be concerned about this. Why don't we get out the info about who they can contact if they have questions or concerns?
Well, and we're kind of behind the eight ball because the comment period is almost closed. The Highway Department admitted that they didn't get much comment, and so they're allowing us to get some comments in this week and perhaps part of next week. So there are two websites, email addresses that you can access for the Wyoming Department of Transportation. The first one is DOT-HWY-59 at wyo.gov. No spaces there. Again, that's DOT-HWY-59 at wyo.gov. And then the local Y. Contact person is Josh Junt, and his email is Josh, Josh, Junt, Jund, as in David, T, at wyo.gov. So that's the Department of Transportation. Now, the other important players in this particular situation is the Campbell County Commissioners. And there are 5 commissioners, and I've already talked to 3 of them, and I know all 5 are aware of this situation and quite concerned. But the director of the county commissioner is Robert Palmer. And if you'll send an email to Robert Palmer, he'll get it to all 5 commissioners. And his email is rpp01 at ccgov.net. Again, that is rpp01 at ccgov.net.
Okay, and I do believe we have a call. Let's get to the caller before I go on with my my interrogation here. News Talk 1270, you're on the air.
Hey, Don and Troy, this is Vicki Kissick.
Oh, hi, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Oh, not too bad.
Hey, Troy, I just tuned in, and I was excited to hear that you were on this morning, and really excited to hear you talking about how to get a hold of people. But I think one of the questions we continually have come up is, I want to send an email or I want to get a hold of them, but what do I write on the subject line and within my email that will grab their attention and get my opinion across?
Oh, excellent question. And here's what you say. I support 2 access routes to North Campbell County. As simple as that. We want to be positive. I mean, there's lots of, and if you have expertise in a particular area, feel free to include that. But what we want to let the commissioners know and YDOT is we want 2 major access routes to northern Campbell County for public safety and ease of travel. There's all kinds of pluses, but that's what we want to say. Quick, short, and precise.
All right. Thanks, Troy.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Hey, yeah, thanks a lot for the call. Okay, so we talked a little bit in the last break about the increased traffic on Highway 1416, and you know the information I have has some figures from YDOT. You don't really think those are very accurate, do you?
No, I don't. I mean, they do in there. They said how much traffic will be added to US 1416 on their questionnaire, and they claim that there's would be approximately 1,739 more vehicles per day. Well, that's a significant number, but they obviously have based that study on traffic up to this point, and we're entering a boom, particularly an oil boom. And like you said earlier, Don, we was talking. If you wanted to place and write, this is going to happen now. Yeah. Because there's so many people coming in. Well, with an oil boom and trucks and rigs being moved around, I'm sure that you're going to see a lot more traffic. And here's another problem that we need to discuss. The WYDOT, Wyoming Department of Transportation, already admits that the most congested intersection in the Gillette area is the West I-90 intersection that connects 1416 with Highway 50 and I-90. And we're talking about routing all that traffic, for the most part, to that intersection and points north.
Well, and I go by there. Let's see, I go by there on the way to work and at least twice a day. I mean, that's the way I go. The way I go to work, I come down Highway 50 and then go to Southern Drive. So, and I've usually I go through there around noon or so. So I mean, I go through there at lunchtime traffic, and it can be pretty busy, especially during the summer where you get a lot of people coming across 90 and they're getting off the highway. It's a very busy intersection.
Well, add another 18, possibly 1,800 vehicles to each day. That's what we're talking about if they put this in. I think one way to really make this focus is we've got 2 routes out of Gillette to the south. We got Highway 59 south, and we have Highway 50. What if someone come along and said, hey, let's close 50 and we'll route it all through 59? I mean, and that's exactly kind of what they're talking about. We're gonna close the 59 north for 3 miles and the connection to Little Powder Road so that everybody's confined to 1416 for 6 miles. And here's the interesting factor. The Wyoming Department of Transportation says we will not build a 4-lane road north of the airport to the intersection up by Rawhide Butte for all that extra traffic. So you're going to go to a 2-lane at the airport and be stuck to it. And not only that, but that intersection is not that far from the turnoff to Rawhide Elementary School. So we're going to have trucks and traffic and school buses trying to turn off. I could go on and on.
Well, and if anybody has any questions for Representative Mader, it's 682-1270, 682-1270. Just kind of going back for a second to the oil boom you mentioned, a lot of these oil service companies are based in North Dakota. And you have to go up 59 up through Montana to get to Dickinson or some of the other cities in North Dakota. I imagine that corridor is only going to get busier over the next couple years.
Yes, and it already is busy. For those of you that are chronologically enhanced like myself, in other words, we've been around here a long time, 59 used to be a quiet road, and I live right next to the highway. So if you heard a truck coming down the road when I was a kid, you looked up to see what it was because it was uncommon. And now we'll see 8 or 10 trucks in a row hauling pipe or something headed into North Dakota, and they're wanting to route all that over. And the thing is the drive time. Think of the expense to the individual person that has to drive. For example, let's say somebody lives in Freedom Hills, Fox Park, anywhere at Rosette, east of Gillette. If they put in this new relocation and confine everybody to 1416 north, they're going to drive double the miles from the north end of Garner Lake Road to get to like Rawhide Mine, Dry Fork, anywhere up there. I mean, double.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And why don't we do this? Why don't we take our bottom of the hour break, and we'll come back and talk a little bit more, maybe about some of the solutions. And we talk a little bit about your solution, but maybe we can talk a little bit more about it when we come back.
Sounds good.
News Talk 1270 KIML. We'll be right back.
Listen every Friday at 9 a.m. for Steve's Store, or visit the new BasonsRadio.com for the latest listings. Don Carpenter on News Talk 1270 KIML. Call Don now, 682-1270. News Talk 1270 KIML.
News Talk 1270 KIML. Don Carpenter Show. Welcome back to the program. It's 7:40. And if you're just joining us, we're talking with Representative Troy Mader about the Highway 59 relocation. And we didn't really talk we talked about it a little bit in the first break. We didn't really talk about it much in the last break. And I kind of want to go over it because, we get pretty much a new audience every 15 minutes. That's what they always teach you in talk radio school. For those that might be curious, there are two solutions. One seems to be a little bit more of a common sense solution. So why don't we talk about the possible solutions instead of completely closing down one of the access routes to the north?
Oh, we can. There's two solutions that were suggested at the community meeting the other night, and both of which I believe have options. And of course, they'd have to take more studies and so on and so forth. But the first solution is where Highway 59 runs from Little Powder Road up to where it crosses the railroad tracks is the section that they want to Alpha Coal wants to remove in order to mine that coal in that area. Alpha Coal's boundary with Dry Fork Mine is to the east of that present road. And I think it's maybe about a quarter mile. Now, the problem with moving that road is that boundary is not a straight line. It kind of zigs and zags and so on and so forth. So there'd have to be consensus where they put it. Second of all, the highway department does not look favorably upon putting a road on reclaimed land because the reclaimed land tends to heave. Now, there's a way to mitigate that. I was talking to Commissioner Dan Coolidge on a tour yesterday, and whenever they moved a lot of roads down in south for the coal mines down south of Gillette. And if they know they're going to move a road on reclaimed land, what they do is they make it a haul truck road. That way, those heavy haul trucks carrying the coal, and 40 tons or whatever, 100 tons of coal, whatever those haul trucks call, they bring in some to 2, 3, 4 feet overburden and then run the trucks down it for several weeks. Then they bring in 3 or 4 more feet until they get it up to the place they want. And then they find that road does not heave.
So it kind of pats it down and compacts it.
Builds a base.
Right.
Builds a base. So it's possible. So that's one route. Move Highway 59 from Little Powder up to where it crosses the railroad tracks over to the east so that Alpha Coal can mine the coal. And then the option can be they can always put it back to where it was once it's done. I mean, that's what they do down south. They'll move a road, mine it, move a road back or however they want to do it. The other option is to get away totally from the mine area. There's a curve where most people know where Dry Fork Mine is. Just to the northeast of Dry Fork Mine, the road runs northeast, across the railroad tracks again, a bridge there, and it curves. And milepost 124 is right on that curve. Just north of that milepost marker, you could go to the southeast. And it's a flat land. There's enough room between Little Powder River to where you could run away from that, so there's no wetlands or bridges you'd have to build. I didn't see any as I used binoculars looking at it. It runs right up alongside the railroad track, the railroad spur, and Garner Lake Road, the paved portion of Garner Lake Road, is where this road would connect in. Now, obviously, we've mentioned earlier that Garner Lake Road would have to be improved. There's a lot of difference between a paved county road and state highway. So there's going to have to be work. So you've probably got about 7 miles of work there. You got to build a new road for about 2 miles, and then about 4.5 miles or whatever. It'll either improve the road, and again, or completely change it. But again, it could be temporary. I mean, the thing is they could opt to make that road a temporary road, and when they get done mining, they could put Highway 59 back where it is. So there's a lot of options to these two options.
Right.
So there's ways they could work around it.
Well, and you mentioned that both of these options could be temporary. They could be permanent. The plan right now for this bypass that pretty much cuts off one of the northbound routes. The plan right now is to make it a permanent solution.
Yeah,
they're not planning on putting it back.
No, and it goes straight. Just so you know where there's the Alpha Coal's suggested relocation route is. If you went up the hill from Dry Fork Mine to the west, it continues straight west to Rawhide Butte, and that's where it hooks up. And the problem is that's already been done. If we maintain two routes, that route that Alpha Coal is suggesting is really not necessary, and here's why. Northern Drive already connects the roads closer to town, and that's what they're proposing to do up there. If we keep the two routes north, we've already got a connecting road in Northern Drive just north of Gillette. And so, in a sense, or at least in my opinion, it's not needed if we can maintain two routes. And when I think about emergency traffic, I think of fire. Response time to fire is everything. And we almost got burned out about 3 years ago with a BLM fire that swept down with a lot of winds. If you've got 5 to 10 more miles of drive time in heavy congested traffic, it just delays that. And then if you have a disaster on 1416, it's right next to the airport, and we've just learned recently that a road can be closed due to some kind of accident. If that artery is closed and there's an emergency up further north, how are you going to access it?
Well, and that's actually, I mean, we talk about emergency, maybe somebody coming down from the north to get to the hospital, but, like you said, there are a lot of ranches up that way, and wildfires or something like that could be a major concern. And there would that extra, I think, 7 miles would be added on to the transit or something like that.
It's about 5 to 7 miles extra drive.
So 7 miles is 20 minutes in traffic.
It is.
So that's not that's at least again. And speaking as someone who I've driven a lot of roads in my day, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Oh, it doesn't. And again, Jamie Tarver, who put together that great community program up there, she made this statement, and I think it just really wraps this up. It says, "This proposed highway relocation goes against good transportation engineering practice by reducing alternate routes, reducing connectivity, and routing traffic through congested areas." Well said.
Yeah. Well, so this was discussed at a meeting the other night. I mean, what do you think was the consensus at the meeting?
It was unanimous. Let's keep two routes open to North 59. And the interesting thing is this. I visited with former Commissioner Jan Evans, who really brought all this to light after the meeting. And she said at one of the hearings back in April that she attended, she said they really didn't ask for comments. It was just kind of an information distribution. And Don, as you and I discussed earlier, the handout they give you, the comments on a back page, you don't even notice it. I mean, you automatically go to the questions and read through, and you kind of even miss that you're supposed to comment.
Well, and I've seen a few of these packets, and it could be just somebody might have printed something out of order. But normally, the comment page is at the very end of the packet, and this one.
It's on the back of the map.
It's on the back. There's a map, and then there's several pages of questions and answers, which it goes through all of the environmental impact and that kind of stuff. But the map on the front page has the comment section on the back. So if you I guess you can make a photocopy of the map, but normally, I mean, if you wanted to print out and maybe write down your comments and mail it in, you wouldn't even have a copy of the map.
Absolutely.
So I mean, it's probably just somebody maybe put the pages out of order when they printed it out. But I could understand why they wouldn't get a lot of comments because
I missed it.
Yeah, I missed it too. So there you go. I mean, at least they're. I mean, at least they are acknowledging that there was a little bit of a problem, and they're extending the comment period. But the time's running out on it, though, isn't it?
Well, yeah. The comment period actually ended for YDOT last week, but they extended it this week, and I think they'd take it at first part. But we really urge listeners to get a hold of them right away. What is important, though, more important than that, is get a hold of the county commission, because there has to be cooperation between the Department of Transportation and the local county commission. And I know from talking to 3 of the commissioners personally in the last few days, they are concerned about this safety issue because it's slower response time because of a longer distance to travel. It's slower response time to traffic congestion. There's greater potential for accidents when you put more vehicles on one segment of highway. I mean, and here's the thing. I'm in House District 52. We've got 3 schools to deal with. And we talked briefly about Rawhide School, where that intersection's not far from the turnoff at Rawhide School. But we've also got Little Powder School and Recluse School. If we have congestion and there's a kid that has an allergic reaction or something, we need to respond to a school, that congestion is going to slow down that response.
Well, and you mentioned an allergic reaction every minute counts.
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
It does.
So again, and we had an excellent call earlier. If somebody is interested, and we'll get the information to them in a second about who they can contact, what would you suggest that somebody say in their email?
I support 2 routes, separate routes of access to northern Campbell County.
And that's all you really need to say. You don't need to have specifics, unless you have an area of expertise or maybe a personal anecdote or something like that.
Well, sure. And like Frank called earlier, what about a EMT that's up there doing CPR? That extra drive time and the traffic congestion, I mean, a whole difference. It takes, there's factors that deal into it. If you have expertise, add that. But the main thing is we want 2 separate routes to northern Campbell County.
And
beyond.
And who can they contact?
They can contact Department of Transportation through a couple of emails. The first one is DOT-HWY-59 at yo.gov. Again, that's DOT-HWY-59 at yo.gov. No spaces at all. Or the local contact is Josh Yunt, JOSH JUNDT, D as in David, T as in Tom, at yo.gov. Again, no spaces. And more importantly, the administrative director, Robert Palmer, for the Campbell County Commissioners. He will get this information to all 5 commissioners. His email is rpp01@ccgov.net. And again, no spaces. Now, another thing is, if you want to, say, circulate a petition in your area or whatever, you can get a hold of me and I can get you a petition if you want to do that. And my legislative address is troy.mater@wyoleg, WYOLEG.gov.
Okay, well, and thank you. And we'll give you about a minute to wrap things up. I mean, what do you think the bottom line is to this?
Bottom line is this: for transportation, and again, connectivity, and reducing alternate routes doesn't make sense. It's not good sense. What we need 2 separate routes. There's at least 2 options out there, and there may be more. I mean, there's experts that may know more. There may be another option or 2, but there's at least 2 options that can open up traffic, and especially the 59 corridor. Now, I'm obviously biased. I like the concept of going up Garner Lake straight north and coming over and connecting to milepost 124, running parallel to the railroad spur to Rawhide and Buckskin Mines, because that makes the 59 corridor completely, takes all that truck traffic away from all subdivisions, even like on Little Powder Road. Although Little Powder Road is very beneficial for a route north, it would take it away. But that may not be the best option. But one thing we do need is 2 routes to northern Campbell County.
Okay, and I want to thank you again, Representative Mater, for coming in, and we'll keep an eye on this. And for those that might be interested, I'll actually upload this interview, this whole segment, to the Basins Radio website.
Will you put the contacts on there too?
Absolutely, absolutely. It'll be at basinsradio.com. It might not be there until tonight or till tomorrow sometime, but but I'll get it done. So thank you again, and we'll keep an eye on this. And with that, we're going to take our top of the hour break. We'll be right back. News Talk 1270 KIML.
Listen every Tuesday at 9 a.m. for the Tuesday Morning Quarterbacks. Don Carpenter on News Talk 1270 KIML. 70 KIML. 70 KIML. 70 KIML. 70